now. Joe Biden made some pretty incendiary remarks last night, ones that some people may well seem to be very true. The parties seem to be in peculiar places on this issue. Donald Trump, of course, insisting that if you count the legal votes, he still won that election. Joe Biden saying that he tried to overturn democracy. Well, let's explore this issue with Jake Hunsaker, the US Republican Congressional candidate from Utah. Welcome to the programme, Jake. Thank you for getting up quite so early where you are to join us here on GB News. First of all, I want to explore where the Republican Party is on this, because it seems to be looking at various polls. There is some real division. A substantial proportion of your party believe that Donald Trump, in fact, won the election.
Well, that's unfortunately correct. So I've looked at the same polls, and depending on the source, you see between 2/3 and 3/4 of Republicans right now believe that the election was fraudulent, that it was stolen from Donald Trump, and that Joe Biden is an illegitimate president. And that is simply not true. And I'm a Republican. I find myself in the rank of conservatives in this country who desperately want to impact change in a Biden administration where we see things breaking from our perspective that we want to fix. We want a voice. We want a seat at the table when it comes to foreign relations. Our disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, crisis at our southern border, trade issues with supply chain, and hyperinflation that is triggered by, egregious spending bills. All of this is something that I think, Republicans feel strongly about, but we have to take first things first. And in my view, we cannot be taken seriously as a party until we establish that we believe in truth. And the truth is objectively certified. Joe Biden was the president of the United States. When he took the oath of office, he won last year's election. And we have to accept those results and move on so that we can be credible and relevant going forward. That's the school of thought that I adhere to. But unfortunately, you are correct. I'm in the minority. And that is why I'm running for Congress in my state, in my home district, so that I can try and make a difference on those issues that matter to Americans across the political spectrum. But we have to agree, first of all, we will embrace truth, we will reject extremism and conspiracy theories, and we will come together as an American people to embrace the peaceful transfer of power in this fragile democracy that we call home. That's important to me. I think it's important to voters here as well, and that's my mission right now on the campaign trail.
I was looking on social media last night and seeing those pictures and videos from a year ago resurface. Really quite extraordinary images of people storming through the Capitol, breaking windows, indeed multiple injuries taking place as well. I wonder, however, how much this is still alive in the minds of the American people. We've seen that your party, the Republican Party, is actually doing fairly well in the polls right now. The predictions are that the House will swing back to the Republican Party in the midterm elections, that the Senate may well even swing back too, that the Republican Party is in the ascendancy despite this bad press.
Right. And I believe that that is the case because of what I would view as a very problematic Biden administration. And so, yes, we may well take the House next year. I hope that we do. I hope we take the Senate next year. But this is a short-term strategy. It has no long-term strategy behind it. This idea that we just neglect the truth of January 6th, the reality of the extremism that in some cases we have embraced. If we continue to ignore those facts, we find ourselves in a very short-term political game. And in my view, we really have to start thinking about how we remain relevant long-term. Now, if we can get past that, then we can start talking about substantive issues. Then yes, let's take the House next year. Let's take the Senate, and let's start working on policies and legislation that matters to Americans. But first, we have to show America that we defend the Constitution, that we defend our own institutions, and that we prioritize truth and order and law. As we say we do much of the time, we have to act the way that we speak. And you're right, those images are gut-wrenching. It was a horrifying event last year. I spent the day talking with voters here in my own home district about how it impacted them and reliving some of those horrific emotions and events. And it was a very heavy, very weighty day. And I'm not alone in my own party in acknowledging it was an event we never want to see replicated in this nation again. And I ask for leaders in my own party and for leaders across my country to acknowledge the horror of that day, to acknowledge the realities and the rhetoric that led us to that point, and to commit to never again lead us to a boiling point like we saw last year on January 6th.
Well, powerful words there, Jake Hunsaker. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on the briefing on GB News, and best of luck.